Hi guys, in this video I'm going to be talking about the scientific method and also about fair testing, which we've talked about in class, but this video is just here if you need to have a look at this again. So first of all, let's have a look at the scientific method, which is the process that scientists use to make discoveries. So first of all, scientists will come up with a hypothesis. So a hypothesis is just like a statement that they're going to test, so it's an idea about what might happen in the experiment. They then plan an experiment to test whether the hypothesis is true, perform the experiment, make some observations, collect some information, write stuff down, and then they say, okay, do our observations match up with our hypothesis? Was it true or was it false? Doesn't matter if it was true or if it was false. The really important thing is that you can tell either way. It might also mean that you collect some observations, you can't tell if your hypothesis is true or not. That's fine too. Scientists don't care whether their hypothesis was true or not. They just want to know correct information. Okay, once they've done this experiment, got their observations, then they communicate their results. And the way they might do this is through writing a report or talking to some other scientists. They might go on the internet and make a video or go onto Facebook. There's all sorts of ways that scientists communicate their results. So let's just go back to what a hypothesis is. The simplest definition of a hypothesis is that it's a testable statement. So it's a statement that we can test with a scientific experiment. Now, most of the time, it will be your prediction of what will happen in the experiment, but sometimes it might not be. The important thing is that we can test whether it's true or not. So an example of a hypothesis is that plants will grow higher if they have more fertilizer. So if we add more fertilizer to a plant, it will grow higher. Let's think about that. Okay, so let's say I've got 4 plants and I decide to test that hypothesis. So what I might do is I might go, okay, I'm going to put 10 grams of fertilizer in the first one, 20 grams in the second, 30 grams in the third, and 40 grams in the fourth. And then I might, leave them for a couple of weeks and measure how high they go. And I would be able to see if my hypothesis was true or not by having a look and seeing if the one with the more fertilizer grew higher than the ones with less fertilizer. So that would be a way of testing my hypothesis. And then I would communicate my results by writing about it or making a video or speaking to everyone about it. And that would be the scientific method. Now I just want to think about one more thing. What if I kind of ruined this test? How could I do that? Well, one way I could do it is by, if I had these plants set up, by installing a little shade cover over the last 2 plants. And that would stop the sunlight from getting to these plants. Now, what that's going to do is it's actually going to confuse us. I'll just draw the sun up here. Okay, so the sun can't get through. These plants might not grow as high because they're not getting sun. Now that's going to confuse things because suddenly we aren't really sure what's causing the plants to grow higher. Is it the fertilizer or is it the sunlight? So that would actually ruin our experiment. So this just brings me to my last point that I want to make, is that it's really important that your experiments are a fair test. Now what that means is that in a fair test, we only change one thing at a time, and we keep everything else the same. So if we look back at this experiment, the thing that we're changing, and we call that the independent variable, the thing that we're changing is the amount of fertilizer. That's the only thing we want to change. We don't want to change how much sunlight the plants get. And in fact, we would keep everything else the same. So we would put the same amount of water on each plant. We would use the same type of plant. They would start off at the same height. We would use the same amount of soil. Everything else we would try to keep the same. And that's so that it's a fair test. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.